In the blue.
Karoline?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The President's been spotted out and about a number of times with bandages on his hands. Could you please explain what that is about? Secondly, he noted on Truth Social the other day that he had aced 3 cognitive tests. Could you please clarify when those tests took place?
I can do that at a later date. I obviously don't have that in front of me. The president has spoken about that quite extensively throughout the years. As for the bandages on the hand, we've also given you an explanation for that in the past. The president is literally constantly shaking hands. The Oval Office is like Grand Central Terminal. He is meeting with more people than any of you even know about on a daily basis. He's also on a daily aspirin regimen, which is something his physical examinations has said in the past as well, which can contribute to that bruising that you see.
All we've got. The president sleeps less than me. I sleep 5 hours a night. The president sleeps 4 hours a night, and he's working all the time. He calls me late at night. He wants to talk about the day. He's on it all the time. It is the most impressive thing you've ever seen.
If you can't tell that this man is in the throes of a serious cognitive health crisis, then you're not awake or alive. Did you see him try to walk to the helicopter with
I saw that.
Melania or someone looking like Melania? I mean, I don't know that she would have the strength to do what that person did and carry, like he was leaning on her because the left foot doesn't function in the same way that it used to. I mean, he's in trouble and he's very ill and no one is talking about.
It's looking really bad, Donald. Donald Trump's health is rapidly declining, and his top staffers are throwing him under the bus, either intentionally or inadvertently. You be the judge, because what we're seeing is a coordinated effort to explain away symptoms that are becoming impossible to hide, and the explanations are getting more desperate and less believable by the day. This past week, you had Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump's chief propagandist, asked why Trump's hand keeps having bandages on it. Why does it look discolored? What is going on? Clearly, he's getting some sort of injections or IV. Something's happening with his hands that's not normal. And Leavitt comes up with the best answer she can think of. He shakes so many hands. That's why, because he handshakes a lot of people. That's why it looks that way. By the way, I am trying to do my best to gather all the information I can for you and share it with you. Please leave your likes and comments, and I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's continue. Just take a look at what his hand actually looks like. I'll show you some photos. That's not from shaking lots of people's hands. There's an injection taking place there. There's something deeply serious happening. Watch Leavitt try to explain this away, and then I'm going to show you what other Trump staff said that I think was even more damaging. A reporter asks, the president's been spotted out and about a number of times with bandages on his hands. Could you please explain what that is about? Secondly, he noted on Truth Social the other day that he had aced 3 cognitive tests. Could you please clarify when those tests took place? Leavitt responds that she can provide that information at a later date. She obviously doesn't have it in front of her. The president has spoken about cognitive tests quite extensively throughout the years. As for the bandages on his hand, they've given explanations for that in the past. The president is literally constantly shaking hands. The Oval Office is like Grand Central Terminal. He's meeting with more people than any of you even know about on a daily basis. He's also on a daily aspirin regimen, which his physical examinations have mentioned in the past, which can contribute to bruising. Let's break down how absurd this explanation is. First, plenty of politicians shake hands constantly. That's literally part of the job. But we don't see constant bandages and discoloration on their hands. Second, if aspirin is causing this level of bruising from normal handshaking, that suggests a serious clotting disorder or other medical issue that would be extremely concerning. Third, the pattern and location of the discoloration and bandaging is consistent with intravenous placement or injections, not with bruising from handshakes. This is gaslighting. Don't believe your eyes. Don't trust what you're seeing. Trust our explanation, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. The president shakes hands a lot and takes aspirin, so obviously his hands look like he's getting medical procedures. That's totally normal. Nothing to see here. But then we get Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick giving an interview that inadvertently reveals even more concerning information. Before I show you that, just a reminder to hit subscribe. We're on our way to 6 million subscribers here on the Midas Touch Network. We've been leading the way in reporting on Donald Trump's deteriorating health while corporate news refuses to cover it seriously. You may think you're subscribed, just double check that you actually are. So Lutnick is doing this interview bragging about how incredible Trump is. And what does he brag about? That Trump never sleeps. He doesn't sleep at all, and it's incredible. Yeah, that's a sign of Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep disruption, particularly sleeping very little or at irregular hours, is one of the classic early symptoms of neurodegenerative disease. Listen to what Lutnick says. The president sleeps less than me. I sleep 5 hours a night. The president sleeps 4 hours a night, and he's working all the time. He calls me late at night. He wants to talk about the day. He's on it all the time. It is the most impressive thing you've ever seen. Lutnick thinks he's complimenting Trump. Look how energetic he is. Only needs 4 hours of sleep, working constantly. But to anyone familiar with dementia, that's alarming. Severe sleep disruption is both a symptom and an accelerator of cognitive decline. The brain needs sleep to clear out metabolic waste products. When you're only sleeping 4 hours a night at age 79, especially if that's a change from previous sleep patterns, that's not vigor. That's a neurological issue. And I'm glad other independent media is focused on this as well. Rosie O'Donnell was on with Jim McGovern, and here's what she said. If you can't tell that this man is in the throes of a serious cognitive health crisis, then you're not awake or alive. Did you see him try to walk to the helicopter with Melania or someone looking like Melania? I mean, I don't know that she would have the strength to do what that person did and carry, like he was leaning on her because the left foot doesn't function in the same way that it used to. He's in trouble. He's very ill, and no one is talking about that. She's describing observable physical deterioration, not speculation, not partisan attacks, but visible changes in his gait and balance and ability to walk unassisted. These are objective symptoms that anyone can see if they're willing to look. Then you have psychologist John Gartner, who's appeared on the Midas Touch Network and in the Daily Beast. Here's his professional assessment. He may have Alzheimer's. His symptoms seem to point more towards frontotemporal dementia. In dementia, we see deterioration in at least 4 main areas. Language, where during the campaign there were supercuts of people making fun of his mispronunciations or malapropisms. Memory, where we've talked about him not recognizing Hakeem Jeffries. Behavior, his disinhibited behavior. And then finally, psychomotor performance. Gartner continues, it appears it's on the right side of his body that he had the droop with the face. It's also on the right side of his body that he has the wide-based gait where he swings his leg in kind of a semicircle. What we're seeing is consistent, gross progressive deterioration in all of these 4 areas. In dementia, very overlearned motor behaviors, things we don't actually think about because they're so overlearned, those programs start to deteriorate. This is a clinical assessment from a trained psychologist, not partisan speculation, but observation of specific symptoms in specific areas that indicate specific types of neurological damage. And then Gartner drops this bombshell. I believe his doctors who have examined him know that this is not within normal limits. I think the information that has leaked out is enough for us to conclude that they know he has organic cognitive decline. If Donald Trump were just an ordinary patient and you saw these kinds of serious signs of dementia, a responsible doctor would give him both a neuropsychological battery and an MRI. The fact that they're not releasing those results or claiming preventative abdominal MR suggests they know what those tests would show. Then you have Donald Trump's nephew, Fred Trump III, speaking out. He says, I know what I saw in my grandfather. I know what I saw in Donald's older sister, my Aunt Mary Ann, who in the end, thank you for saying I am not a doctor, I don't pretend to be. I just know the warning signs from both of my grandfathers. Donald's cousin John Walter had dementia. It runs in the family. Fred continues, I'm not happy about it because guess what? I worry about it myself. When I can't find my glasses and they're on top of my head, I don't know. That may be Halfheimer's, but it runs in the family. He looks older, and I get it. I mean, I'm not saying anybody who is in that office looks different than when they come out, but the things he's spewing and the craziness, and he just can't stick to a message. This is family history. Documented genetic predisposition. Fred Trump Sr. had severe Alzheimer's for about 15 years. Multiple family members have had dementia. This isn't random. This is a known risk factor that Donald Trump has inherited. And Mary Trump, Donald's niece and a clinical psychologist, has been sounding the alarm. She says concerns over Donald's physical and mental decline are mounting, even among Republicans. Donald is 79 years old and a deeply unhealthy person. His father had a very serious case of Alzheimer's that went on for about 15 years. Every day, Donald seems increasingly feeble and unable to focus. Even the New York Times is starting to catch on to this. Mary continues, as he weakens, so too does his hold over the Republican Party. The White House continues to deny there are problems with Donald's health, but since they lie about everything, those words mean less than nothing. The public evidence that the 79-year-old Donald is not doing well is hard for even the most die-hard MAGA types to ignore. She references recent incidents. Recently, according to the Daily Beast, Donald accidentally boosted a post from an account literally called Impeach Donald for a third time. It included Senator Mark Kelly's message reminding service members they can be constitutionally obligated to refuse illegal orders. In other words, Donald promoted calls for him to be removed from office. It's another day proving the obvious. Donald cannot tell his allies from his enemies, his days from his nights, or his own propaganda from uncomfortable truths about his failures. This is severe cognitive impairment manifesting in real time. Promoting content calling for his own impeachment because he can't process what he's reading or understand the context, that's not a gaffe, that's a symptom. Now remember, the last time Trump discussed his MRI, he tried to conceal it. When pressed about what advanced imaging meant, we said obviously it's an MRI. Corporate news finally kept asking, and Trump admitted, yeah, but I don't know what body part. Then his doctor put out a phony note from Walter Reed, claiming it was a preventative abdominal MRI. Trump also keeps claiming he takes cognitive exams and aces them. Listen to what he said about the MRI when asked about releasing the records. Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records. Will you tell us what it was? Trump responds, Governor Walz, you mean the incompetent Governor Walz. If they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect. Just like my phone call where I got impeached. Absolutely perfect. The reporter asks, can you tell us what they were looking at? Trump says, for what? Reporter clarifies, what part of your body was the MRI looking at? Trump, I have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it and I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Notice how he immediately brings up cognitive tests when asked about the MRI. Unprompted. That's what's on his mind. That's what he's defensive about. And the claim that he doesn't know what body part was being imaged is absurd. Patients always know why they're getting an MRI and what's being examined. Dr. Sanjay Gupta addressed Trump's constant bragging about cognitive tests. He said nobody takes a Montreal Cognitive Assessment, MOCA for short, which focuses on recall, memory loss, basic things. Mild cognitive dysfunction is what it tends to screen for. It's not a great tool. No one takes it with this type of frequency. Gupta continues, Nicole Wallace said it beautifully. Saying that you're passing it every other week is not the flex that he thinks it is. This is unusual to keep boasting about. Doing it as frequently as he's doing makes no sense. I don't know any neurologist that would recommend doing a MOCA with that type of frequency. Again, it's not the flex that I think he thinks it is. Exactly. Healthy people don't take dementia screening tests repeatedly. The MOCA is specifically designed to detect cognitive impairment. It's not an IQ test. It's not measuring how smart you are. It's screening for whether your brain is functioning normally or showing signs of decline. Taking it every few months suggests ongoing monitoring of a known problem. It's interesting to see how state regime media, known as Fox, is trying to cover for Trump. They ran this story, exclusive inside Trump's private schedule as media fixates on his health. Trump's busiest day included 32 events, while the longest stretched over 13 hours. Fox News Digital obtained a copy of Trump's personal schedule since December 1st, showing back-to-back calls and meetings that frequently drag into the evening. The message is clear. Don't believe your eyes. We have the secret schedule showing he's super busy, except we have the schedule too. He starts his day at like noon. We've seen him wearing cowboy hats during meetings and falling asleep. We've seen he can't walk straight. Rosie O'Donnell pointed it out. He wasn't even walking in a straight line. When Trump rolled out the red carpet for Putin and had our military on their knees for Putin, Trump couldn't walk in a straight line. When he was in Japan, he needed Prime Minister Takeshita to basically be his chaperone, helping him walk. It was really bad. We created a video at the Midas Touch Network about Trump having dementia. Let me be very clear. I'm giving a First Amendment opinion here by showing you the signs and symptoms, the always covering up the hand, the behavior, the hiding things. I don't know for certain, but here's a video we put together on frontotemporal dementia. The video is styled like a public service announcement. It asks, have you been noticing peculiar behavior recently in someone you know, carried out by someone who mixes fiction and reality? Trump talks about the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man. Perhaps someone of advanced age you have known for years? The video continues. Of course, we all have our goofs, but consistently odd behavior can be a sign of frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative disease of the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain that dramatically impairs cognitive function. Key signs to look out for include slurring words. Trump, the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous. Struggling to find correct words is another sign. Trump, the Mueller report, I wish covered the oranges of the investigation. You may also notice someone veering into incoherent ideas detached from reality. Trump, you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. Or an inability to complete simple sentences. Trump, Saudi Arabia and Russia will, then trails off without finishing. Other notable symptoms include impaired motor function, such as a wavering limb and decreased balance, often accompanied by a signature lean or arched stance. The PSA concludes, if someone you know is demonstrating several or all of these symptoms, they are seriously unwell. As a matter of safety, they must be relieved of critical responsibilities and disqualified from any position of authority. Remember, frontotemporal dementia is a degenerative disease. Cognitive function will never return and will only deteriorate further. Don't ignore the signs. This isn't partisan mockery. This is documentation of observable symptoms that match clinical criteria for neurodegenerative disease. The slurred speech, the word-finding difficulties, the incomplete sentences, the incoherent tangents, the impaired motor function, the balance issues, the personality changes, all of it points in one direction, and his staff knows it. That's why Leavitt has to make up absurd stories about handshaking causing the hand discoloration. That's why Lutnick accidentally reveals Trump only sleeps 4 hours a night, which is a dementia symptom. That's why they release fake doctor's notes about preventative abdominal MRIs. That's why they won't release actual cognitive test results or brain imaging. The cover-up is falling apart because the symptoms are too obvious to hide. You can't explain away someone who can't walk straight, can't complete sentences, can't distinguish allies from enemies, can't remember what body part was imaged in an MRI, and promotes content calling for his own impeachment. Family members are speaking out. Medical professionals are raising alarms. Psychologists are documenting the deterioration. Independent media is covering what corporate outlets won't touch. And Trump's own staff keeps accidentally revealing information that confirms rather than refutes the concerns. This matters because we're talking about someone with access to nuclear weapons. Someone making life and death decisions about military strikes, about people's health care, about the economy, about everything. If he has severe cognitive impairment, if he's in the midst of neurodegenerative disease, if his brain is deteriorating rapidly, the American people deserve to know. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Share this widely because corporate media won't do this reporting. They'll treat it as impolite or speculative to discuss obvious symptoms of cognitive decline. But we're not going to ignore what's right in front of our eyes. We're going to document it, analyze it, and demand answers about Trump's fitness for office.